Hi and welcome to RCKicks. On today's show, well, I'm still under the weather. I cannot shake this, but I wanted to bring you some more content over the weekend. So I can't face doing a full build at the moment as the editing is just too much for me. So I thought I'll do one of my little jobs that sometimes doesn't always pop up on the show. And that's going to be working on my re-release Javelin from Kyosho. Now, I almost sold this not that long ago. And I think the main reason is I've never been too sold on the orange. Luckily, Kyosho do a lot of these, which is a different body. Now, there's quite a few different versions of this. There's a yellowy one, there's a black one, the white one. What else is there? Then there's an orange one, and then there's another couple of colors. I'll put a link up here. Sorry, this video is going to be not scripted very well and the editing is going to be terrible, so sorry about that. Please bear with me. So I really wanted the white one, but they're so hard to get hold of. As soon as they become available, they are gone. The white ones especially are really difficult to get hold of, but as you can see, I finally got my hands on some. Now, I always wondered why they're really expensive, and I didn't realise you actually get the stickers with it as well. And there is some metal plates in here. These, the roof bar part and this bit at the front, you actually get as well, even though you've got them on here. So that kind of explained it. But people buy these and then try and sell them for even more money. And they're quite expensive anyway. So there's a lot of people in Japan trying to sell them. So you've just got to bear with it. But a shipment basically arrived in the UK over the last 2 weeks or so, and it came up on my radar, so I grabbed it. Now, one of the only other problems with it is there's something missing. Yeah, you've got to get your spoiler. So it makes it a little bit more of a challenge as well, as sometimes the spoiler's in stock, but the bars are not, or vice versa. So if you're looking to do a total swap over, you've got to try to make sure you get both of them, or you pick up one, put it on the side, and then wait until you get the other one. Now, the spoilers are pretty much exactly the same spoiler that you now get on the mid, which should make them a lot easier to get hold of, especially the white one and the black one. Excuse me. So in this video, what we're going to do is we're going to swap over to the white, put the decals on, but also I've managed to pick up these. Now, these are black rims, exactly the same as the stock kit ones, but in black. Now, these are, what does it say? OTH 244BKs. They're exactly the same for the front and the rear, 43 millimeters. So being that I want it to be very muted, I want it to be just black, white. So that was the plan. So I found those. So I thought I'll grab those while I can. I don't know how difficult they are. They just sort of came up and I grabbed them while I could. The other thing is I did see someone online swapped out the red shocks for a set of Schumacher Cougar or Top Cat shocks. They're silver, so I have got a spare set of those as I put big bore shocks on mine. So I may or may not fit them on this car because they're silver. So the idea is to try and remove as much colour as possible and just basically have black and white. Now, I've seen quite a few people that have actually gone for a metal rear spoiler. Now, there's a few of them for sale on eBay in America. I don't know. I like the idea because it kind of matches up this metal plate and this here to have a metal one on the back. So maybe that's something I'll do a bit later down the line. But obviously importing it from America is quite expensive for what you basically get, as well as the delay. And talking about parts coming from America, the broken part on my RCKicks CL up here that I ordered that's cost an absolute fortune says it's in the country and it was delivered at 5 AM this morning. Obviously it wasn't, so I've checked with the seller and I pray it hasn't gone missing, as I'll be really annoyed because I've been waiting since before Christmas to get that part. Anyway, we digress a little bit. Right, so the first thing we've got to do is take off all this orange part, sorry, and then get putting on all the white stuff. God, that was a terrible way to end this bit of video, wasn't it? Anyway, moving on. Right, so I've unpacked everything. Basically, there's the top plate and the bottom one replacements. some screws as well, and then you get all your little bits and pieces. There's the two sides, the front nose section, and then there's the Nerf bars on the side. You also get an instruction manual of how to do it if you've forgotten, and I have, because it's been a while since I did this one. So next we've got to remove the orange one. So taking the top part off is easier than I remember. There's two pins that go in here. You just have to remove those from that section, and then you have to just undo two bolts, and then the top comes off after you remove the front pin as well. Next, we've got to take these two side Nerf bars off. There's just two screws on that. That's pretty easy. And then we've got to get rid of this section at the back. Going to give it a bit of a dust because it's a little bit dusty. So there you go, remove the sidebars, give it a bit of a dust as well. Now, a lot of people ask me, what's the best Riri vintage buggy I've ever built? And I always say it's this one, the Turbo Optima. But the Turbo Optima and the Javelin are very close. But why do I say the Optima over the Javelin then? Well, if I remove this body, you can see why. Also, if I move the driver. So looking at the difference, that is the Javelin. And this is the Turbo Optima. Now I've changed the carbon top plate on this one, so you don't get that as standard. Also, I did this one as a chain, not as a belt like I did for the Javelin. But it's so beautiful. It's absolutely stunning. So if you want to get the best Riri vintage buggy ever made, this is it. It is absolutely stunning. If anything, it's a bit too nice to actually take out and drive. So if you want to drive one, I'd probably get that one. But it's stunning. Now, there is a few extra parts you can get for this. I've seen this part here in gold as well. That was machined. Also, there was another part as well. I can't remember where it is that you can get in metal. Oh, you can get metal steering as well. I don't know. The only problem with the gold is you've got to match the gold up as best you can. If it's slightly different, it starts to show. Like these are aftermarket and they're close, but they're not exactly. But you don't really notice them when you're looking at them like this. So you have to be a bit careful. And I honestly don't know how well matched those and the metal steering are to the rest of the car. Anyway, I digress. Let's get back to removing the orange spoiler. So there you go, super easy, and you don't have to actually dismantle much of it at all, so you can always put it back on within about 5 minutes. So it looks very different once you remove it. So next we've got to build up the white one, and then we've got to fit that, and then we've got to add the decals. Looking at it, I think we can just add the decals as we go. I'm not sure about this white. This sticker here is all one sticker with the white. Now, being that the wing is white, do I put it on as it is, or do I just cut out that or just replace it with that? Because you're not really going to see white on white. Not sure, I'll have to think about it. So you do get all the nuts and bolts you needed. You don't have to rob parts off the other one. Slowly putting it together. Not too impressed with how it lines up here. There's a pin that goes in there. You have to be a bit careful with it because it seems to scratch the other side. And when you put a decal on there, it doesn't actually cover those. But I looked at my original one and that wasn't that great either. So there we go. I do like the white. I must admit it is pretty cool. I've put the side Nerf bars on there really easy. So it's a nice little fun job. So that's the basic body fitted. Got to do the decals. I am leaning towards trying to swap out the suspension. I don't know. I'll go and dig out the actual shocks because I want to check to see if they're the same sort of length. Or whether you've got to dismantle them and add a spacer to the piston inside, as I just can't be bothered to do that right now. And we've got to put the decals on, as well as change the wheels. So let's keep going, lots to do. I can definitely recommend changing the wheels over if you're going for white. They look so much better. So I did that other side, and you can see it does look much better. I like that. And it's screaming out to have the lettering around the tyres done in white as well. So I'll try and do that. I'm pretty sure I've got a white pen that will do that. I'll have to check, otherwise I'll get a thin one, and I'll do that later on. Also, it definitely needs to be lower. That looks much better. Now, obviously, that's going to mess up the handling, but if it's sitting on the shelf, that's going to look really good low. So, yeah, so I finish off those. One thing that's really nice, if you get the wheels, they actually have put I don't know if you can see that, it says R on them because they're directional. So you have to get the right one on the right side, obviously, otherwise you'll mess it up. But it actually has this tiny little bit that you cut off telling you which side it's on. That's pretty cool. And I'm definitely leaning towards changing these over, especially if I want to adjust the ride height. So I fitted the front suspension from the Schumacher on it, and it actually works really well. It's pretty much a turnkey solution, really. You use the original mounts from the Javelin. I used the ball joints from the actual Javelin as well. I just took off the bottom section and put it on there. Now they are red, so I've coloured mine in black, but you can leave them red if you're worried about turning it back. But a bit of methylated spirit will turn it back into being red anyway. So there you go. And lengthwise, I just removed a couple of the actual spacers that are in there just to get the travel to go all the way down to the bottom, so it basically bottoms out. I might take out one more. It bottoms out. The only other thing I would do is the oil that's in this is too thick. I would thin it down a little bit. It's a little bit too thick at the moment. So it needs more give. So apart from that though, they do fit really well, and they just fit straight onto the standard mounts. So I'm happy about that. So next we've got to do the rear ones. So there you go. That was a bit of fun, and I'm really chuffed with it. The actual suspension fits really well. Yes, you need to tweak it. The backs pretty much go on as standard. You don't really need to do anything. They're soft enough, and they actually just mimic what you had before, just they look different. The only thing I did slightly differently is the tops of the Schumachers have that nut aspect to it. So I put in a tiny little 1mm shim just to tip them forward slightly so that it doesn't rub against the plate at the back. And the actual bolts are long enough that they still sit flush, and that's fine, no problems at all. The fronts are a little bit stiff. It needs a lot softer oil in the fronts of this. Otherwise, where most of the bounce is coming from is the tyres first. It seems to move clear. There's no like actual, and what I would probably do is inside the actual front shocks I would put a small spacer so that the front doesn't ride up. You could probably bring it down a little bit more so that in its resting place you don't want it to overextend, but the shocks work fine. It's just about tweaking them in. So there you go, and all the mounting points are exactly as it was before, so there's no issues at all. I want to change the driver's just in there temporarily, so I'll do something about that. All in all, I'm really happy with it. The black wheels I think really change it. They really change that vibe. I've got to do the white tyre writing around the sides, but I'm just not up to it today, so I'll do that off camera. I might have to buy a new paint pen as well to do that, because I want to do it well. They actually look quite challenging, but they should look pretty cool once they're done. So we'll be back on the show again. So just a little project that I could face today, but it does change the whole vibe of the car, and I really like it. Anyway, see you on the next one. Bye-bye.